Sorry. And we're live. Hello, welcome to the Knowledge Panel Show, episode 14, I think we're at. And today's show is all about link building strategies at work in 2021. So once again, I've got a pretty impressive cast with me, cast of panelists with me. I'm going to put myself in the not too shabby category for link building. If you don't know my other life away from links, then it involves Majestic. But I'll just jump in and say hello to the other guys here. I heard Bibi there already in the background. So let's start with you, Bibi. Tell us who you are and where you come from.
Hi, I'm Bibi, the link builder. I come from a background of social media marketing, and I kind of fell into affiliate sites and then into link building. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I'm building links now for a lot of clients worldwide.
There you go, and GJ's sitting there saying hi. So the Scandinavians, or I don't know. You're in Holland, aren't you? In Holland somewhere, I think. Are you in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I'm in the Netherlands. I'm actually in Amsterdam, but I went to Sweden for 3 weeks. So the only words I can say are dirty ones. So I'm not.
No, okay. Well, I mean, we call Amsterdam, the Scandinavians, because you're kind of nearly there, Judith, who are you and where do you come from?
I don't know who I am. Where am I? I don't know. I am, I'm Canadian, obviously, but I live in the UK. I have been around since 1996. So my route to link building was long, torturous, and arduous, as I did live through the penguin days and the panda days and the Florida days and all the days. So I've been building links for a long time, but I've been in SEO, and I come from a programming background, but that was the 80s, baby. So yeah, I've been around a long time.
Basic.
That makes you old, Judith. Working in the 80s. Sorry, I can't hide that one from you. You've just put yourself in the.
Dude, I'm from 1975. Judith and me are like.
All right, okay.
80s buddies.
Okay.
We're very close in age. Yeah.
I was only 4 in 1975. Not true. Anyway,
I was
Jonny.
older than you. Oh my God.
Jonny, who are you? Where you come from?
I'm suddenly feeling the youngest.
I'm not really. I was born in 64.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I was born in 76.
There you
go.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah. I'm from Leeds. I also, like Judith, went through all the early Google stuff. I suffered a Google penalty in '99 on a big site and learnt the hard way. Got a marketing agency based in Leeds in the UK. And SEO is my thing. Link building is still alive and kicking.
Yep. Good. Excellent.
99 or 2009.
Yeah, I was going to say 99. They didn't really start coming with the penalties.
Sorry, I got confused with the dates. No, it was 2005. So we set up the.
That was Florida.
Site. We set up the e-commerce site in 99. Right. In 2004 was when we were hit with the penalty. It took us 18 months to fix it.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that much back then.
Well, SEO agencies were still telling us to put white text on a white background at the time.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And no one knew why it wasn't working.
That's. I think that was the Florida update, but I may be wrong. But it was kind of when they went from. I remember we called it Florida update because PubCon had their Florida conference, and I was down there, and Matt Cutts was doing his talk there, which was great. And on the way back, everybody was screwed. Yeah, I remember those days well. So, guys, we've got a producer. This is why the sound sounds so good. David, what have I missed out? What should I have mentioned at the start, at the head of the show?
Dixon, I just want to say that if anyone's watching live, please interact and comment. It's great to see your comments on there, and we'll try and incorporate that as part of the live show. And if you're watching live and you haven't listened to or watched the previous episodes, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify as well. So search for the show, The Knowledge Panel, on there. If you're listening to the show, just go to theknowledgepanelshow.com, sign up there, and you'll receive an email alert whenever we actually broadcast live for a future show.
So also, I mean, if we have a tendency to stick around after the live stream as well, so after the podcast itself. So if any of the presenters have any secrets they can't put into the podcast, they'll talk then. So if you want to stick around for that and engage with those, then do ask a few questions, or do sign up for the live show, because we always try and keep a little secret for somebody. There you go. John coming in. So thanks good to see you, John, and thanks for coming in. Right, okay, let's get started then, and let's get the stuff serious. Get serious. And I'm going to start with the question: what counts as a good link in 2021? Actually, no. Before that, no. If you haven't got time to be here for 45 minutes, what tip would you give people to go away with? And I'll pick on Jonny first, because I don't know him as well as the other guys. So Jonny, if people haven't got time to be here and they want to grab one tip, what's a good link building tip in 2021?
Oh, well, thanks for throwing me in the deep end. I guess it's just got to be something that's interesting, something that's funny, something that's something, that viral word, something that actually has value and people want, and that's what a good link's about. It's about something that it's either resourceful, funny, it's something that trying to make something viral is difficult, but it has to be interesting, it has to be resourceful, has to be humorous, one of those things, and that ultimately makes a good link.
Okay, Judith, what would you go for? One tip.
Buy 2 books. Buy the book Everybody Lies by Seth Stevens-Davidovitz, and also buy the book Contagious, and I forget the author, but buy those 2 books, either in, Audible or whatever. And then using the knowledge that you gain from those 2 books, if you're going to buy links, and we all know that, most people get tempted into the dark side of buying links at some point, make sure that the reason that you're buying them corresponds to the tactics explained in those books.
Okay.
Very complicated in few words, but those 2 books, and so you'll know what to do. So it plays into Jonny's point, but those 2 books will give you ideas on how to have something that is
okay. What are those 2 books again?
Contagious is one book.
Yep.
And sorry, I don't remember the author. The other book is Everybody Lies by Seth Stevens-Davidovitz.
Is it
Excellent.
Jonah Berger, the author?
Might be, yeah.
It
has like a gumball machine on the front, I think.
Well, Judith,
both of them are good books. Contagious will tell you how to make something that is viral-ish, and Everybody Lies will teach you about how to turn data into stories. Those 2 things together, if you're going to buy links, at least it will give you a valid reason why the person that you're buying time or links from will give you a link. However, hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about how I do it a legitimate way rather than just buying links.
Bibi, your one takeaway.
I think when you start doing links, a lot of SEOs, they're more technically oriented. So they're just so focused on a link. And I think it will help you to hire copywriters to include in your outreach, but also in content ideation or anything like that. So you can have a team of copywriters and involve them in your link building. And that will, a lot of people just don't have time to really focus on those kind of things. So why not hire people that content is their bread and butter?
So I'm going to give my my one as well, which is the quality of link depends on the context of the page and the quality of the page that it's coming from. It's nothing to do with the authority of the website. The number of people that think, I've got a link from Forbes, or and so I'm doing great, or even the BBC. I've got a link from the BBC. It does no good anymore. It did great back in 1999. That was a great link, but now it has no pages linking into that page, even from the BBC. It's an orphan page. It only has links because I linked to my page to prove to myself that I still had a link once from the BBC. So I have a pet hate about the concept of domain authority in the context of links anyway, because it's the quality of the page and the context of the page that are important. That's my pet tip. So maybe we can just then broaden that around really and say, well, what kind of links are good in terms of the technical aspects of a link from your perspective, or do you think any links are good for SEO? You know, I don't know who wants to jump in that. Who's going to take the angle of any links are good for SEO?
I won't.
You won't. No one's prepared to take that one.
Any links? I'm not sure any links are. I mean, you could even say, you know, I mean, what do we all think of just even brand mentions? Never mind a link. I mean, there's, you know, there's some importance in that. I think, and I was interested with your comment about the BBC. I totally get around the domain authority and page authority, but take the BBC as an example. I would have assumed, and maybe I'm wrong, and let me know, the quality of the content that they have. You'd therefore assume that any page that they add to the site will have some authority. But take Forbes as an example, you can buy links on Forbes, and so therefore pages, you know, could be anything in a, you know. So that would be my only thing around that. But I don't know if that really answers your question.
Well, the reason I dispute that is really because of the nature of how people are linking to that individual page. So the page that I've got. Or the link that I've got on the BBC was from an article in 1999 about Christmas sales. My mate Barry from Make Me Top had done all the hard work and got the story, and they'd linked to me as a reference for no good reason. So I was competing with Barry from Make Me Top, who actually he's a co-moderator with me on Webmaster World actually, and so back then there was a news, the BBC News / you know, I don't know what it was, commerce or whatever, and so there were links within the BBC to get to the page. It was a long time back as well, but of course, since news articles are very fickle and they drop out of the BBC just in the same way that they drop off the end of blog posts as well, and so they lose their value after a while. Now, I do agree with you that after time, you know, the fact that Katrina, the tornado, has come and gone doesn't mean to say that wasn't some impact that was left behind as a result of that. And so there is that aspect to getting a link on a good site like the BBC. It will improve your brand, or unless you're on Watchdog, you know, wreck your brand for ages to come. But the actual maths that's happening there on after, I think, loses its value really. So
but we're talking about an old link in that case, and I have links to me from the Telegraph and from other publications that were great in the day. When CNN, I did a thing on CNN, it was great for the moment because it diminishes in value as it moves away. And this is what we tell clients. As your blog posts are more clicks from the homepage, they're not going to rank as well. So, you know, all you're doing is justifying the things that we've been telling clients for ages, which is the age of the link matters because the placement in the hierarchy of the site matters. So that 1999 link might not do very well. But if for some reason an article came out tomorrow and they referenced that article from 1999, it would immediately freshen the link and you'd get a lot more juice from it. So I think all we're doing is actually legitimizing things we've been saying for years.
And of course, if you're lucky enough to get a link on, you know, the about page or something like that, it's much more sticky because it's always going to be one link from the homepage. So there's a very good way of getting links on W3C that's very useful, and not anymore because I've just put it onto a thing, but you know, which you know, it's a static link, so it's on a static page, and so it will always be the same distance away from a very good page, the homepage of W3C, for example. So if you're on the privacy policy page of ebay.com, great, that's probably really powerful. But if you're just a link in a product, then there's
so Dixon, have you got strategies to get onto the about page or the privacy page then?
No, I don't. Well, I've advocated strategies, but and a good way to do that is to get involved with the business to a point of level where they sit there and say, and Dixon Jones is involved. That's kind of a strategy that I would use, but that's more likely to be the author page of some writing on stuff, and then you've got to carry on writing. Otherwise, you haven't got a link to your author page, and you've got to carry on working at it. And I'm too lazy for that. So
I saw a question from Andy Bird.
Yeah, Andy, sorry, David, do you want to bring that question up? So there's an insurance company in Germany, there's a point, I think, trying to currently push a negative article out to their brand SERP. Okay, do you want to... Okay, Andy, do you want to put that? Oh, that was a fact rather than a point. Okay, David, can you put it up again? I didn't read it, so I'll take it in properly. Okay, there's an insurance company in Germany trying to currently push a negative article out of their brand SERP. Oh, okay, all right. So there's an article that's still in there from 2003 that's still sitting into the SERPs. Brand SERPs can be a real problem because they do stick around, really, because you've got they don't vary quite so often, really, and so a negative article in a brand SERP could be a tough one to get rid of.
I mean, it would be something that it's so Andy has said it's the longevity of content, and I don't quite agree, because we're talking about links and the value derived from links, and what he's talking about is the SERPs and the tenacity of things in the SERPs. Now, I mean, you mentioned Katrina back in the day. Do you remember when Katrina was the best example of Google refreshing the SERPs due to a recent event?
Yes, I do.
Hurricane Katrina came through, and you had Katrina and the waves, and then there was also Georgia conflict. And this is a long time ago, kids, so it's a bit of ancient history here. But it was my fabulous example of how Google updated very quickly in response to world events. But this is slightly different. This is the problem of probably a very valuable page in Google's eyes, ranking for the brand of a particular company. And there are techniques that people like myself, and I'm sure other people here, utilize in order to push things out of branded SERPs. And that's by creating stronger pages. And there are 10 things you can do to push that out, but you have to have a strategy. And although the page is tenacious, it's not what we were talking about, which is a link from the BBC, CNN, whoever, Telegraph, diminishing in value passed from that page to the target page. What is being talked about here is the value of the page itself to retain in the SERPs, to be sticky in the SERPs. And those are two different topics.
I noticed there that Bastian Grimm just blamed it on the German SERPs, really, there in the chat as well. So, Bibi, sorry, you've been very patient here, and is there anything you want to jump in with?
What was the question again? What is a good link? Or
what's a good link? Yeah, it's pretty much.
Yeah. So I was quiet because I build links and they do well, but I've never done pure tests on what kind of links do what, right? So that's why I don't have an opinion on a good link, because I think I'm building good links, but I've never built spammy links to see if they have the same effect. Maybe they were, I see competitors ranking with total shit links. So how can I say what a good link is? I just I just like to use my common sense. Like,
but what's your common? So Bibi, what's your common sense though? So what's
a good link for me is on a site that looks like somebody cares for the site, right, and it's not going to be neglected over time. And it's within a relevant context, and it's on a page that makes sense to the audience I'm targeting. So maybe they'll click on it and we'll get referral traffic. So that's very simple. It's I don't watch a lot of metrics. I look at traffic dips and all those kinds of things. But overall, my eyeball test is the most important thing for me.
That's a pretty good test, I'd say. But I could also you said that at the start you come from a social media kind of start and you got into link building through social. So I'm guessing some of the tactics that you're using are based around content-driven stories and news stories. Is that right, Bibi?
No.
Okay. So what's your favorite tactics then?
Yeah, so I do think how social media ties in is that I've learned from social media that it's not about you, it's about putting the other one in the spotlight. So when I reach out to prospects, I try to pitch something to them that's going to help them engage with their audience or sell to their audience. And I think a lot of link builders, they focus on their client and they try to push their clients through the throats of the prospects, right? So that's where social media comes in. And I think if you change your perspective, that's also why I hire copywriters, because they think about pitching things that help the prospect. That can make a huge difference in the quality of links that you're getting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Jonny, well, no, let's carry on with your favorite tactics then, Jonny. And what's yours?
Well, it probably
you told me one before the maybe you save that one to the chat after the end of the live podcast.
What the big link network that I've created that's hosted in China and just on some cheap servers. It's brilliant. It's so relevant.
It's a joke, guys. Well, it might not be under. I don't know. We'll find out afterwards.
Disclaimer: don't use that one. it goes back to probably Judith's comment, which is around. So a lot of the links that we would produce will be around some data sets. So it'll be producing some data from maybe a brand we're working with or some of their clients, and producing some insights. And so it becomes an interesting new set of data, new report, something to share. And so it adds value, and that's probably the biggest tactic. But I really like what Bibi was saying, because it's got to be relevant. You've got to find something that it has to be from a domain or a website that has got that relevancy. And so I love the eyeball test.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Judith, give us one for you. Whatever your link building.
Obviously, I've come out as a black hat amongst the group, but I do there is a
You
value.
love doing that. You love coming out as a black hat in a group.
Because, let's be honest and own our evil, I own my evil. But while I have done testing, so I do know that certain types of spammy link building does work. It has a very short shelf life, but it does work.
Right.
My favorite kind of link is something that, if I'm doing it for clients that they're going to be proud of, they're going to want to refer back to, and they're going to be able to talk about. Because one of the things about link building and link building from data is a bit of PR. So you want to be able to PR the places that are talking about you and linking to you from their sites. If Forbes there's a limited amount of PR you can do for that, because everybody knows you can buy a Forbes link. But if the BBC does, that is something that you can actually push out and PR out. If you've done a big piece of research and that's what people are linking back to, amazing. And Stacey McNaught does an amazing job of building passive links. And this is a long-term project. It is not something you can do for most clients. Clients want it now. They're not willing to wait. But a good piece of research will actually build its own links over time. So look at doing, and it is not cheap, but look at doing a good piece of research, get that research up on your website, PR it at first. And I do pay for PR augmentation in order to get the eyeballs on the page. But after that, it will start, if you've optimized the landing page, it will start passively building links to it. So that's one of the ways that you can build links. And it's easy once you've got it going. Once the ball starts rolling, once you pushed that rock over the edge of the hill, it just keeps going on its own.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, a tip is also that I think doing your own research and surveys is the best way. But if you don't have those resources, you can just compile data and just very dry list of data, and it will pick up links. I just had this morning, I was checking something, and we got a link from Good Men Project, and it was to data around kissing, right? And the nice thing about those stats roundups is that you don't know how they're going to be used. To see that come back to you, how a journalist uses it for a certain angle, it's really cool. But the passive link building is a long-term thing, though. Sometimes nothing happens.
Yeah.
For me, I think the best links have come from me through relationship building, and I think that this is I've spent so long in the industry that most of my links are, talking with people at conferences has led to a natural synergy that works somewhere later on in the game. So, and I did it. I'll put a link in the chat. We can get it onto on maybe David can bring it up at the end, or we can chat about it afterwards. But this alliance linking of having relationships with people makes a huge difference. If you become an expert in your vertical, in your industry, it doesn't matter what it is really, but you've got to be renowned enough for somebody to want to have you on when you're talking about about this. I mean, if we're not going to link to Judith, Bibi and Jonny after this from InLinks, I'd be very, very surprised, so going to conferences over years, the same conferences again and again and again and again, and being the speaker occasionally at least, and not making too much of a fool of myself, at least not in the professional regard, has led to some opportunities for my content to be picked up by other people, and then the links suddenly appear naturally. And I see so many people that sit there and say, yeah, but Dixon, but you can do that because of who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just one guy that's just done my stuff, and Judith and Bibi and Jonny, you're just You're just doing your stuff. Oh yeah, so David's put it in there. So it's on my other show, the Knowledge Panel show. Link building strategies at work. It's on the Majestic one. You can find it as a blog post on a case study on the Majestic post. But anyway, yeah, this idea that, you know, I can't get those because I haven't got the influence in the industry I'm in. If you're saying that, then therein lies a problem for you. You need to actually be good at what you're doing, or try and be good enough to get some kind of recognition if you want to use that strategy. But it does work if you carry on working at it. So my daughter, she's 21. She's just come out of Warwick, fantastic degree. I tried to employ her, but she's decided she doesn't want to work for Dad. So she's just starting to work in Regent Street next week for another industry, and it's just internet marketing for in-house sort of thing. And I said, look, the one thing I think is really, really important is to start really building on that LinkedIn profile, those contacts that you're going to be making up over your life. They will last throughout your life, for better or worse. They are going to brand you way beyond whichever company you're going to work for. And that's what's valuable as you move from business to business, is the black book. That's the only thing that we've got left as human beings, because the rest can be done by computer pretty much. So I think those relationships are really important.
Bleak.
I know. Well, not really. I don't know. Hopefully it gets us all talking again, and we go to conferences and we chat to each other again.
Yeah, but I do think the relationship thing, it is really important, and it can pay off. It paid off for me, surely. But there, a lot of SEOs are very introvert, and they're very analytical, and they're not busy socially. So I think if you don't have that naturally, then you have to find another way that really fits with your personality. The dry stats thing, or building up a database or anything like that can work as well.
Jonny.
Or China.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, whilst we've been talking, one of the probably obvious for all of us things about what makes a good link is something that's just authentic and something that's natural. And so, for example, entering some business awards produces a link. Starting a petition produces a link. Donating to a charity. All of these sorts of things, working with a charity. And
Judith's face is like, charity links now, eh? That's an old one.
Well, it is old, but if you've got a big national charity, and you can do, you can manage to get some, Judith, go on, argue with me, go for it.
Well, my argument would be that there is the potential that links like that have had their value diminished. So I absolutely support things like, I would love to be able to do something nowadays where I go off and sponsor the women's basketball team at Oxford. I'm not far from Oxford. So why not throw them £1,000 for their kit over a season and get a link out of it? The problem is we as SEOs have abused that style of link building so much that there is the potential for those links to be less valuable. However, my favorite type of link building, my favorite all-time type of link building is buying links from places that are really actually going to send you business. I know it's radical. It's crazy to actually buy a link somewhere that you might actually get business from. But it's my favorite way of building links, is to actually look for context, look for relevance. And if you're going to splash the cash, make sure you make some of it back.
Google would say we'll just use AdWords for that.
Well, it's a different style, though, isn't it? Because you are paying for access to an audience that has been built up by someone else. Right?
Absolutely.
It's an advertorial placement at the end of the day. So you're paying somebody who has worked their socks off to build up an audience relevant for chocolate. Let's say, of course, everybody knows I love chocolate and wine. So if you've built up an audience that is relevant for chocolate and you're a brand new chocolate company, why not pay the person who has already done the hard work for them to write about your chocolate company, rather than rando over in a mummy blog or whatever that doesn't have relevance and might not end up selling your chocolate for you. I know.
What
it's
about the other
crazy.
side of things then? What's going to get, no, I want to stick with what does work in 2021 a little bit. But if we've got time, then we'll go and say, well, what's going to get you completely banned? But let's stick with the positive for a little bit. Okay, with GJ. Well, actually, GJ's said, Roy Cohen, get most out of my business from LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn. So let's talk about LinkedIn then. How can we use LinkedIn to help us get links? And is LinkedIn getting better as a tool?
I've never gotten links through LinkedIn, but I've also never tried, so I don't know.
So I have, but okay. So I'm interested in Judith and Jonny there. So
I mean,
are you using LinkedIn?
You've got your obvious things. So, for example, just from the the company page, making sure that every if you've got a team of 30 people, then they should all be using their links on their profiles to different parts of your website. You can have up to 3 links on each profile. So, if you could get your entire team to link to 3 key pages of your website, or a nice spread of pages across the website, then I think there's value there. I think it's probably how you can create relationships that's probably the key thing here, to then turn into links. But as you said, links is all about relationships. So it's about how can you use LinkedIn to create new business relationships that then turn into one of the many things being links.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would utilize LinkedIn as part of my link building strategy, but I would definitely use it as part of my PR strategy, where I help obfuscate the links I'm buying by pushing the message out and making it look organic. So, because let's be honest, if you're going to buy links, they're more than likely going to kill you if you're not doing it carefully. And by being careful, I mean, you want to make sure that it's in a relevant niche. Again, you're looking for the audience, not the link. But LinkedIn for me is much more of a place where I can push the message out and show that there's a reason why I've gotten all those links, and that they're not just suddenly emerging from the side of the head of Zeus type thing. This is not just forming fully formed links all of a sudden coming into the site.
Are you thinking that Google's having a look to see if they're real by seeing if you've shared them on LinkedIn?
No, I'm not saying that. There are more sophisticated things than just checking LinkedIn that they would look at. But what it does look like is, to a journalist or somebody who's looking to bust my ass. Oh, sorry,
okay.
I swore. Somebody who's looking to bust my backlink profile. It looks natural at the point at which it's spread all over the place.
If a human was checking it, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to be thinking about, why is somebody going to link, and also where they're going to have found that link. I am 100% in favor of social media links, not as link building, but as a way to get the message out there. And if it gets picked up on Reddit, even better. There are so many places that link could go just by getting it out there socially. So I think as SEOs, we get too obsessed about the DA, the page, PA, whatever metrics. Get that on a DA 99 site. Excellent. Yeah, no, it's not. You want to get a good link on a good page that people are going to see. It doesn't matter if it's DA 99 or not, but you want to make sure that there's a spread so that people can find it.
One thing that I've seen working very effectively on LinkedIn is, instead of writing your content, either we're writing your content on LinkedIn is fine, but that's not an SEO strategy. But writing instead of pushing your blog content, for example, pushing your medium.com, so putting the article out on medium.com or repurposing it and putting it on medium.com, that can create links for you. But of course, unless people start visiting that medium.com article, it doesn't gain any traction in medium.com. So what people I've seen do is put a good article on medium.com, then use their power of their LinkedIn profile to push that article rather than their blog post or whatever. That has the effect of then making the medium.com article more prominent than would be before, and therefore will mean the link has more influence power at the other end. That's as an example. But Reddit's another one where you push out a Reddit thing, and then so it gets picked up on Reddit through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn can be an amplifier of ideas, I think. But I do think that LinkedIn is getting stronger. I think GJ mentioned at the very basic level, don't leave other as all your links. So all your links, make sure you name what those links are. You can anchor text them a little bit.
But I think link building is always a part of digital marketing. So my clients all have their social media teams and have everything else in place as well. So we just all work together.
Andy Beard came up with something. If I can read that back out again. So Andy Beard says a link for your integration with Shopify probably still has value from their integration directory despite the no follow. Okay, so there's the thing. I'm not a Shopify fan, but if you, or not a Shopify user because I'm not really e-commerce. But so Shopify has their own directory and presumably that has traffic. So Judith, you said you like links that will deliver value. Presumably Shopify's directory is a valid place for Shopify users to have a link from. What do you think?
Directory links, no follow links, no tea, no shade. I like no follow links. I've paid good money for no follow links. So, do not dismiss the value of a no follow link. And Jonny's already said, a mention for your brand is still a valuable thing to have because there are so many signals that Google is looking at to establish whether or not your site is worthy, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's a lot of calculations going on in the background. If we become too obsessed with the numbers and links, we're going to lose the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that we are trying to get leads or sell something. And if we forget that in being so focused on a DA99 site, then we are going to lose the value that would be brought from a no follow link from a directory. And, there is nothing wrong with a good quality directory.
Roy asks a brilliant question there. Any tips for when you've been working with a client for a few months and they've already got loads of links and you feel you're running out of prospects? I remember from my agency days that happening all the time. You go through all your normal routines, and then 3, 4, 5 months in, well, usually month 5, then you're starting to think, how do I deliver? Any thoughts about that? You feel that, Bibi?
I feel it a lot. Because when people come to me and they say, link building isn't working or whatever, they often think it has to do with their outreach or something like that. But often it has to do with their prospecting because they're so limited. They only think, okay, I have this product, so these types of sites are relevant to that. But that's not true. Prospects are relevant that share your audience, or they share people that are in the same customer journey. If I offer garden supplies, sprinkler systems providers are relevant as well. So with the Shopify example, for instance, not a link from Shopify, but I've used Shopify to scrape them to look at people that were offering Shopify apps, I think, around marketing, because they were all relevant to a marketing client because they had the same audience. So you don't run out of prospects. You just need to come up with different angles.
Any other thoughts in there, Jonny?
Yeah, well, it was similar to the integration one in that there's a lot of websites where, because there's so much SaaS software as a service out there, there's a lot of websites that now have not just integration pages, but expert pages. So if you can be an expert with some of these SaaS systems, you can get listed on their website. And I think there's a lot of power in there because, again, they're quite high up in the number of links from the homepage. And that can bring other value in terms of other things because, if you can get a listing on there, like Judith says, that's a way to bring referral traffic. And, there's a whole amount of trust as well. So it's probably focusing more on that than the link, but the link just becomes something you get with it.
Yeah. I'd love to. Well, thank you very much for bringing that up, actually, Jonny, because InLinks, of course, does have a client directory. We've only got of experts, and we've only got about 10 people in it. Because in order to get into it, you've got to, we only want to tell our customers. So we've got a software as a service. So we've got this gap between, people understanding how our product works and then the value it can give to customers. We've got this small army of SEOs in between who understand how the product works and can actually do it for clients. What I don't want to do is become that, is cut that person out of the loop because they're my customer base. So I want, so I've got plenty of people who come along to InLinks, don't know how to use the product, don't really want to learn how to use the product because they sell trainers or they do this or do that. And frankly, they would like me to do it, but that's not what I want to do. So that's why I have the client directory. It's a very important piece of kit where we have people that understand the thing enough. I've got some checks to make sure they actually do know how to use the thing. Have they ever logged on to the product? So that we do some things to make sure that they deserve to be in our directory. But it's a really good link for them because not just for SEO. Hopefully, it's there for SEO, and it's definitely a follow link, but also anybody that starts asking us, can you do this in our own customer support, and it becomes a consulting question instead of a functionality question, we'll just send them to the directory page because we want them to choose their own person. We don't want to be biased in that process. So so I agree. Those are really powerful links. If you're using technologies, make that alliance with those technology owners because they will be delighted. I mean, I'm also delighted at Inlinks to link to anybody that does a case study based on my data. So if all they've got to do is give me the headline stats, then Kareem will go off and make up the case study, put it into a great PDF file, put it there so the PDF file is good enough for them to print off and give to their customers, their logos all over that. But then we do a blog post about it as well, and that's great for us because we're then talking about, of course, I'm going to link to the customer. They've shown me that that's the truth. That's the social proof of our own customer. If it's somebody else's case study, then it's much much better. So I think using your suppliers is a good angle, really. And then the other way around. To the original question, which is I think starting to work on the customer's customers is probably the next step. So as link builders, we can start by working with our own methodologies and our own techniques, but eventually the business has to start standing on its own 2 feet. And then it's a case of how can I make that relationship with my clients' clients and get them to start having a relationship that gets them to start talking about their product. And then it's just a case, have you got a good product? The techniques are going to be completely different for completely different customers, but that's how I think you expand, is either you convince them to go for one big link, so some massive great big campaign kind of route, or you find ways to have development strategies that are working up beyond your own contacts and into somebody else's contacts.
And hopefully also you would be thinking beyond the obvious. If you've run out of prospects, then you're not being creative enough. For instance, I was talking about the women's basketball team, but what about, think about smaller conferences that are directed towards the target market that you're aiming at. If you're educational software, there are educational conferences, but then there are things beyond that. I worked for a publisher and we actually used swag to get people to link back to our product. We didn't even want the link live. We wanted it in the back end because we wanted schools to be using the product that we'd produced. So we used physical swag to send out to teachers to get them to include us in their itineraries and in their media lists for their students of what can you use to do this work. So I think that you have to be thinking outside of the box. Don't just think about buying links or producing content for links. Think about sponsoring a conference or doing something we spoke about charity before, but doing something a little bit more engaged that you can really PR. So do some DIY for a charity rather than just throwing money at them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give time. Time is so valuable, and that will get you more PR than just throwing money at them.
Excellent. Right, we're nearly at the end of time, but just one last question. What's a really bad link building idea for 2021? What's a really bad idea?
All the links for £1 from all the directories across all the internet, and then some Fiverr links just for, good measure.
Spend at least 20 quid on that.
Woohoo!
I was about to say 100 links for $5 on Fiverr. That's perfect.
Well, you get what you buy. So if you don't care about it, it's fine.
I'm gonna say context is becoming increasingly important, and so one of the challenges of a directory that's just a generic directory is that there isn't necessarily the context in that. So it's not necessarily about the directory itself, but there's a lack of context, so have a look at the context in which the links are getting generated, and that is a problem if you're going to suddenly create a campaign, a PR campaign that generates lots of links, but it's because you're throwing water over each other's head instead of selling the product, then the link becomes out of context and it doesn't get connected with what you want to be authoritative about. So, I think that's I think it doesn't work very well when it's out of context also. So, guys, thank you ever so much for coming on. Just before we head off, and if you do want to stay along after we've gone off the live feed, then any secrets, then anyone that's live can hear that. But David, how what have we got coming up in the next shows?
Yeah, so great discussion today. Thank you for all the questions and interaction. Really, that makes a massive difference there. The next show is on Monday, the 20th of September, 4 p.m. BST, and that's going to be episode 15. We've got Aleda Solis, Michael Bonfils, and Motoko Hunt on that one. So
Nice.
I'm sure many people can guess.
I've got to apologise, but David's running that one as well because
You've got to apologise beforehand.
yeah. I've got to have a holiday. My CTO has gone on holiday in August for 3 weeks because he's French, and so Inlinks has got not got a CTO, so I can't take any holiday in August. So I'm going to take some in September. So so I think David's going to be running that unless something goes wrong with my my climbing in mountains in Wales.
So that's going to be
straight from Slovenia to Wales.
I am pretty much, yeah. So yes, I'm off in Slovenia the week before with you, Judith, as well. I'm hoping anyway, unless that gets mucked up by the fourth wave in Europe or something like that. So, yes, absolutely. So, guys, it just leaves me to say thank you ever so much for coming on. And perhaps we'll cut the live podcast now, but thank you ever so much for coming on, and see you. Where do people go and find you if they want to find out more about you? I should have said that. Judith, how do they go and find out more about you? Remember that this is on a podcast, so you can't just say, look at the Twitter handle on my screen.
Of course. So for those of you who are listening in at home, you can go to the search engine of your choice and enter my name, Judith Lewis. And if you don't find the actress and you don't find the woman who wrote that book about childhood sexual incest thing, whatever, then you'll find me. Or if you put Judith Lewis and chocolate, that's guaranteed to be me. You can also find me on Twitter at Judith Lewis. You can find me on Instagram at Decabit, which is the name of my company, or you can find me online at decabit.com.
Jonny, how do they come and find you?
So my name is Jonny Ross, no H, JONNYROSS, at Jonny Ross on Twitter. And I have my own podcast, the Jonny Ross Audio Experience. I'd love for you to be a listener. So check me out.
Bibi, how can we get links from you?
I don't want people to come and find me. No, but it's at bibibuzz.com. So BIBIBUZZ.com. And the same as Judith says, just be creative in Google and you'll find me.
Guys, thank you very much for coming on. That's been episode 14, and see you in cyberspace.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye to the live listeners.
Okay.
bye to
only got the live left.
recorded listeners. Yeah.
Well, recorded listeners, live viewers on
if
YouTube.
Bastian or GJ or anybody else is still out there, then they then that's fine. So so if you've got a Chinese network that is working for you, really, Jonny, then you should tell us where it is.
I don't really.
Thanks a lot for coming on. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
It's good.
Yeah, it
It's
was good.
I know.
But you
It's
remember
really good.
that I did that I told you about that backlink network that I dismantled, the large PBN. It was a thing of beauty. It really was glorious. It was one of the most beautiful PBNs I had ever seen in my entire life. And the only reason I found it was because I am Torontonian, and my young brother, my baby brother, he's not such a baby, is a mathematician. And those two simple facts led me to uncover a large PBN that was quite impressive. But it was just those two things, those two random facts, that helped me unravel everything.
So what did you do with it? the information, or is that not something
I
you're
reported back
prepared
to my
say?
client. So I was paid by my client to do that work. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Are you serious? You're paying me to do this? This is fun. Wow. And so, yeah, so I was actually paid to do that. I produced a deck. And from what I understand, I must hate Bert. No, yeah, I know there's a Judy Lewis that ranks for me. She's an actress. She was the illegitimate love child of Clark Gable, and I think it's Laura.
So what you're saying, she really is a bastard. Okay, I see how
She
it
really
goes.
is. Yeah, she and I are bastards. That's one thing we have in common. We were both born out of wedlock. But yeah, so it was just a thing of beauty, and I reported I reported my findings back. It was the deck was, I think, 136 slides, and it showed how this network was put together, and it showed the ties between the AdSense IDs and the AdWords IDs. Not AdWords, analytics IDs. So it wasn't, there were very few crossover points. They were very, very good, but there were just these few little bits where with the right tools, you were able to dismantle the entire thing. It was absolutely beautiful.
I've got the same problem with Dixon Jones, by the way. So separate, we're going back to names, because Dixon Jones was this not insignificant set of architects who owned dixonjones.co.uk, but not the .com. But they spent years. They've always been ahead of me. But just because they designed the Royal Opera House, it seems to be that they should be ahead of me, which is really bloody annoying. Anyway, they've gone bankrupt now, so I'm hoping that over the next year or so, I can take them down. Finally, after 20 years in the industry, I can finally maybe get to number one. But they will remain with a massive, great big Wikipedia page forever and day, which is a really annoying thing. So, mind you, it could have been worse. My name could have been Johnny Ross. That's going to be a hard one.
Oh boy.
I think there's a Johnny Ross in America that's a car salesman, and it's quite easy to get onto his website by mistake. And also, there's a Johnny Ross in Leeds where I am. There's
a Jonathan Ross that runs an IT program on ITP as well.
There is. Sorry, yes.
Johnny and Jonathan has got to be a synonym.
Yes.
Google's got to figure that one out. So,
yes, you're right. And in fact, I was really known as Jonathan until the age of 25. But no, the one in Leeds, the other Johnny Ross in Leeds is a wedding singer. So people often turn around to me and say, "So do you do at the weekends? Do you do wedding singing as well?" And I'm like, "No, that's not me." So yeah, there is Jonathan Ross, of course.
I want a name like Bibi. That's a much better name.
Bibi's cool. I have no problems ranking for my own name.
Brilliant. Guys, seriously, thank you very much. And thanks, David, again. And I'll call it a day, I think.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Unless anyone has a question.
I think Dixon Jones sounds like a radio DJ.
Does, yeah, totally.
That's why I'm doing webinars, mate.
Doesn't it? It was really great meeting you all. Thanks for
soothing sounds of Fleetwood Mac here on Radio 1 with Dixon Jones.
I wish that did get on live on the recorded podcast now. All right. I'm off. Cheers, guys.
Right.
Bye.
I'm ending the live stream, everyone. See you. Bye-bye.